Hi my dear friends, welcome to HSC Expert YouTube channel. Today we are going to discuss HSC officer important oil and gas interview questions and answers. If you are new to our channel, please subscribe our channel and press bell icon. Also activate notification tab. Then only you will get notification when we upload HSC related videos. Thank you. Let us start video now. Friends, in this video, some important oil and gas HSC officer and HSC engineer interview questions and answer explained, which is useful for who are preparing for HSC interview. What are the responsibilities of HSC officer or HSC engineer? Friends, I have explained here some key HSC officer responsibilities like the core duty of HSC officer is providing advice and assistance to the workers and management for prevention of accidents, injuries, work-related illness and property loss in the workplace. Other duties include development, implementation and maintenance of health and safety management system, identification and development of health and safety trainings and ensuring delivery of specific HSC trainings at workplace, promoting positive safety culture, assisting in the compliance of applicable laws and regulations, maintaining relevant HSC logs and documentations, scheduled new workforce induction training, implementing health and safety standards in the workplace, participating in carrying out risk assessment and other safety assessments to support safety, health and environmental management, ensuring valid work permit obtained and available at the site for all jobs, ensuring job hazard analysis or safety task assignment has done for all activities, organizing toolbox stock and explaining work-related hazards and precautions to the workforce, regularly inspecting the workplace in their area of responsibility and identifying the hazards, unsafe acts and unsafe conditions, and recording those hazards and taking appropriate actions to mitigate or eliminate those hazards. Conduct a HSC walkthrough with site management, taking part in incident investigations and recommending any improvement to the health and safety management system, taking appropriate actions to protect the environment, conducting safety awareness and safety innovative programs, participating in client HSC meetings. Second question is, what is H2S? Its health effects and safety precautions for entering into H2S prone areas. Friends, we will understand first what is H2S. H2S is produced or generated by decomposition of organic materials. It is a highly toxic gas and highly flammable. It is smell like rotten egg at low concentrations and not detectable by odor at high concentration. It is highly flammable at 4.3% to 45.5% by volume in air. It is colorless. It is heavier than air. It is highly soluble in water and other liquids. When burned or flared, it forms sulfur dioxide, which is also colorless and highly toxic gas. The exposure limit 10 ppm is the maximum allowed for 8 hours. Increasing exposure will cause headache and irritation of eyes. 800 ppm or more will be initially fatal. Exposure limits. Friends, you can see here some exposure limits like TWA, time weight average of H2S 10 ppm. STEL, short-term exposure limit of H2S 15 ppm. IDLH of H2S is more than 100 ppm. Friends, note that up to 10 ppm work can be done without respirator protection system. 10 to 100 ppm work can be done by SCABA or air-lined breathing apparatus. Above 100 ppm work not permitted, allowed only for rescue. Friends, we will discuss here health effects of H2S. In low concentration of H2S, irritation of eyes, nose, throat or respiratory system. In moderate concentration of H2S, more severe eye and respiratory effects, headache, dizziness, nausea, coughing, vomiting and difficulty in breathing. In high concentration of H2S, shock, unable to breathe, coma, death, effects can be extremely rapid. H2S safety precautions. Sufficient number of escape masks shall be kept in area where H2S liable to present. In case of H2S presence in suspected in an area, the person must put on escape mask immediately and toxic gas test must be made immediately with appropriate detectors to determine the concentration of H2S in air. Working persons should be equipped with personal detectors and alarming devices to alert in case of H2S presence. In case of H2S alarm, all personnel should vacate the area after turning the escape set, breathing apparatus and report to the designated assembly point for mustering. If working in H2S contaminated atmosphere, must wear suitable BA set and work in pairs to support and rescue each other in the event of difficulties. Know the wind direction and evacuate in the crosswind direction in case of H2S leak. Never go to low lying areas during H2S leak. Paste H2S warning signs in H2S prone areas. The presence or suspected of H2S in any part of the plant or sewer shall be reported immediately to supervisor and respective area fire station for arranging rescue and support. What is lower explosive limit and upper explosive limit? Friends, this question is very important in oil and gas industry. Also, this question was repeatedly asked by interviewers during interview process. Friends, will understand definition of LEL. Lower explosive limit is defined as the lowest concentration of a gas or vapor in air which can capable to produce flash of fire in the presence of ignition source. UEL, upper explosive limit, is defined as the highest concentration of a gas or vapor in air which can capable to produce flash of fire in the presence of ignition source. Friends, you can see here in this image, concentration lower than the lower explosive limit are too lean to burn. Those above the upper explosive limit are too rich to burn. Friends, fuels will burn only if their concentration in air within the range of their LEL and UEL. What is confined space and confined space hazards? What is the procedure for entering a confined space? Friends, will understand first what is confined space. Any enclosure having a limited means of entry and exit, and it is not designed for continuous occupancy. There will be a presence of hazardous substances such as flammable and toxic gases, oxygen deficiency, oxygen enrichment, hot or humid atmosphere, or any combination of it. Examples of confined space: process vessels, tanks, bins, stacks, large pipe, duct, pit and trench, etc. Any excavation with depth more than 1.2 meter as considered confined space. Confined space hazards. Friends, a confined space may be have one or more combination of the following hazards: oxygen deficiency, presence of flammable, combustible or pyrophoric materials, presence of toxic gases, corrosive or hazardous materials like H2S, carbon monoxide, ammonia, poor illumination, ventilation and communication, high temperature and humidity, limited entry and exit, restricted access, restricted movement inside, falling, tripping hazards, presence of reactive or self-ignited material, hazard due to electricity or moving machinery, hazard due to nature of work carried out inside confined space. All this will be considered inside confined space hazards. Procedure for entering confined space. Permit must be procured from operations, making sure of the following: complete isolation of the space to be entered, draining, depressurization and purging or cleaning should be performed, gas test should be conducted to ensure no hazardous atmosphere is present, space ventilation. A pre-task meeting must be conducted with all authorized entrants prior to entering confined space. The attendant standby man shall be assigned at the entrance to maintain communication with employee working inside to ensure their safety. A logbook shall be maintained at the entrance to keep the track of the people inside the space. Safety attendant must be trained and authorized to use gas testing equipment. Entrant must be wear full body harness and if necessary a lifeline be attached to the harness to avoid entry rescue. Lighting should be provided if necessary. A maximum of 24 volts lighting should be used attached a GFCI ground fault circuit interrupter. Only intrinsically safe or explosive proof equipment shall be used inside confined space. Depending on the situation, emergency rescue team may be put on standby. If an emergency occurs within the confined space, the standby person must not enter it until rescue team arrived. Barricade the area with warning signboards. What is the different hazardous area classification? Friends, we will understand first what is hazardous area. Hazardous area is the zone in which flammable atmosphere may be present during normal operation or under abnormal conditions. Classification of hazardous area. Friends, hazardous area classified into three zones: Zone 0, Zone 1 and Zone 2. You will understand here Zone 0. Zone in which a flammable atmosphere is continuously present or present for a long period is called Zone 0. Zone 1. Zone in which a flammable atmosphere is likely to occur in normal operation. Zone 1. Zone 2. Zone in which a flammable atmosphere is not likely to occur under normal operations, and if it is occurs, it will only exist for a short time. Define lagout tagout system and LOTO procedure. Friends will understand first what is lagout tagout. Lagout and tagout is a process to block the flow of energy from the source, and it will locked with the lock system or padlock for not restore the energy, and this should be tag on it. The tag will be as warning, do not operate. Friends, the specific actions for applying LOTO will be different from equipment to equipment and from facility to facility. The general LOTO procedure should follow a basic 7-step process. First one is notify affected workers, prepare for shutdown, shut down the equipment, physically disconnect and isolate energy source, lag out the energy isolation device, tag out the energy isolating device, perform zero energy verification. What is isolation and types of isolation? Friends, we will understand first what is isolation. Isolation is a physical disconnection of equipment or process plant from all source of energy in a way that is safe and secure. All plant equipment or machinery shall be isolated by authorized person prior to commencement of any work on the asset. There are two types of isolation: effective isolation, second one is positive isolations. Effective mechanical isolation can include, in order of preference, two single block valve in series closed, tagged and locked, with one intervening single block vent valve open to atmosphere, tagged and locked. Positive isolation. To ensure positive isolations, the authorized person shall isolate, physically disconnect or separate the energy source, tag and where possible, lock, test. Testing the energy isolation has been successful should also be carried out before physical disconnection or separation of the energy source. Positive mechanical isolation can include, in order of preference, one single block or double block and bleed valve closed, tagged and locked in series with a line rated end cap pipe section remove. Define TWA, STEL and IDLH. Friend, this question also very important in oil and gas industry. TWA abbreviation, time weighted average. Time weighted average concentrate of the contaminant in air over the normal work shift of 8 hours, to which workers can be exposed without respiratory protection in a 40 hours work week. STEL. STEL abbreviation is short term exposure limit. Short term exposure limit, when exposed only for a short period of 15 minutes, this maximum concentration can be allowed to breathe 4 times during 8 hours with minimum 1 hour interval between exposure. IDLH abbreviation is immediately danger to life health. Minimum concentration of a contaminant in air which is immediately danger to life health. What is risk assessment and explain its steps? We will understand here what is risk assessment. A risk assessment is a formal process of identifying hazards, evaluating risk, and then deciding control measures to eliminate or control those risks to an acceptable level. This can be used to determine whether enough precautions have been taken or whether more should be done to prevent harm. The aim of risk assessment is to identify hazards and decide and implement control measures. The main objective of risk assessment is the, the prevention of accidents, ill health, and property damage. Risk assessment is carried out into 5 steps. Identify the hazards. Hazards may be identified by inspecting the workplace, asking employees if they have noticed any hazard, checking manufacturers' data sheets and instructions, checking accidents, near misses, and ill health records. Second point is identifying the people who might be harmed and how people may be employees, publics, visitors, children, expected mothers, young workers, new workers, lone workers, individual with disability, etc. Evaluate the risk and decide on precautions. Generally, risk matrix is used to evaluate the risk, then control measures are decided considering existing control measures that are already being used. Record significant findings and implement them. If a company has 5 or more employees, a record of the significant findings of the risk assessment must be kept electronically or in writing. It involves recording of what hazards were found, who are at risk and how, what you are already doing to control the risk, and what further actions is necessary by whom and by when. The last point is review and update as necessary. A risk assessment should be reviewed after any additional control measures have been introduced. What is accident investigation and its benefits? Explain what are the steps in accident investigation. First, you'll understand what is accident. Accident investigation is the process of determining the immediate and root cause of an accident so that corrective action can be taken to prevent similar incidents from happening again. Benefits of investigating an accident and incident. It identifies cause of the incidents. It identifies corrective actions to prevent reoccurrence. Records facts of the incident for future evidence. Meeting legal compliance. Improve staff morality. Identifying individuals for disciplinary action. It enables risk assessment to be updated. Discovers the trends. Steps of accident investigation. Investigation procedure. Basically, the accident investigation is done into 4 steps that are: first step is gather factual information about the event. Second step, analyze that information and draw conclusion about the immediate and root causes. Step 3, identifying suitable control measures. Step 4, plan the remedial actions. What is HSE audit and types of HSE audits? HSE audit is the systematic, objective, and critical evaluation of an organization's health and safety management system. The audit is based on the 3 different types of evidences: documents and records, interview with site personnel, direct observation in the workplace. The objectives of health and safety audit are to evaluate and inform the company that how well it is performing in health and safety, whether managers and others meeting the standards set by the company itself, whether the company is complying with the health and safety laws. Types of audits. There are 2 types of audits: internal audit and external audit. Internal audit, that is normally performed by internal team to evaluate current status and effectiveness of management system. Second one is external audit. It is second type of audit which is usually conducted by third party certifying body and insurance companies to evaluate and examine effectiveness of current management system. What is hot work? What are the hazards of hot work and precautions? Friends, you will understand first what is hot work. Any work that generates sparks, open flame, or heat are considered as hot work. Examples for hot work like welding activity, grinding, cutting, sandblasting, etc. Hazards and risk of hot work: fire and explosion, welding fumes and dust, skin and eye burn from the sparks or flame, ultraviolet and infrared radiation from the welding arc, physical injury from grinders and other tools, flying particles, heat stress, especially in summer season, trip over the trailing cables, electrical shock. Precautions for hot work: carry out all possible fabrications and welding outside unit area. Inspecting the area and testing the atmosphere where hot work is to be performed to ensure that the area is free from fire hazard. Flammable gas test within 15 meters radius is compulsory period to hot work. Clear combustible materials and heavy oil deposits within 8 meters radius. Valid hot work permit must be obtained. Cover and seal sewers, drains, vents, or any other gas escaping points within 50-meter radius. Provision of welding booth. Providing adequate lighting. Provide adequate ventilation or respiratory protection against welding fumes. A trained fire watcher must be assigned near hot work. Fire protection equipment such as fire extinguisher, water hose must be readily available. Ensure that pre-use checks of handheld and power tools and equipments. Proper grounding of welding machines. Ensuring that hot work is done only by the competent workers. Cables must be managed properly to avoid tripping hazard. Providing frequent breaks and drinking water for the workers. Avoiding loose clothing. Welders, fabricators must wear leather or flame resistant gloves, eye protection, aprons, face shield, and high safety boots. They must use leather shoulder covers in addition of other PPEs for overhead work. What is work at height? Its main hazards and precautions. Any work any work carried out at height more than 1.8 meters is considered as working at height. Working near excavation or other openings in which a person could fall into it and injured. Some common hazards and risk of working at height. Fall of person from unprotected edge of the working platform. Fall of person from unsecured or poorly placed ladders are due to carrying a material in hand while climbing. Fall of materials and tools on workers because of not using the toy board and not securing the tools through tools lanyard. Overturning, toppling and collapse of structure or elevated working platform. Electrocution from overhead power lines. Ladder slip and fall. Safety measures to minimize work at height risk. Avoid work at height where it is reasonable practicable. Where work at height cannot be avoided, assess the risk and prevent falls either by providing guardrails or right type of equipment such as full body harness or safety net. Doing as much work as possible from the ground. Inspect the scaffold and ladders to ensure they are secured and safe. Any opening in the scaffold platform and missing or defected components must be fixed or replaced. Platforms must not be overloaded. Overhead power lines must be identified and isolated or avoided. Workers should keep both hands free to maintain 3-point contact while climbing the ladder. Materials or tools must not be thrown from height. Must be used tool bag. PPEs like safety helmets, safety shoes, hand gloves should be used by the workers. What is excavation? Explain its hazards and precautions. Excavation is any man-made cut, trench, cavity or depression in the earth surface formed by earth removal either manually or mechanically. Hazards of excavation include excavation collapse when the unsupported side of the excavation slip and cave in. Severe crush injuries can result from even relatively small collapses because soil is very heavy. Striking buried services. When high voltage electrical cables, gas pipes, main pipes, or other buried services are struck during the excavation work, this can lead to electrical arcing, shock, burns, and fire, or gas explosion or rapid flooding of the excavation. People and objects falling into excavation from an unfenced edge or while climbing into or out of the excavation from ladders. Flooding from surface water during heavy rain, groundwater, or ruptured water main. Vibration from heavy vehicles, machinery operations near the excavation. Struck hit by excavating machinery or handheld equipment like excavator, pickaxe, spade, shovel, etc. Soil dust. Trip over equipment, debris, or spoil. Possibility of flammable or toxic gases release. Exposure to contaminated soil. Safety precautions for excavation. Careful planning of the excavation works. Carrying out risk assessment before starting the excavation. Obtaining valid excavation authorization. Using valid scan report to locate underground services and these to be marked on ground. Pipe and cable locator kit should be used during the course of excavation work, ensuring that mechanical means of digging are not used within 0.5 meter of underground services, and spades and shovels should be used instead of pickaxe and forks to avoid piercing the cable pipes. Once services are exposed, they should be supported. Determining soil type. Using sloping, benching, or shoring system, whichever is suitable to prevent cave-ins. Height of each step of bench must not exceed 1.5 meter. Providing suitable barriers around the edge and placing signages and blinking lights. Providing proper means of access and egress. Checking all the equipment period to use. Diesel and petrol engine equipment should not be allowed into excavations without proper arrangement of exhaust and ventilation. Performing gas test inside the excavation before entry if the depth of the excavation is greater than 1.2 meter and hazardous atmosphere reasonably be expected to exist. Excavation materials must be placed at least 1 meter away from the edge of the excavation. Ladders used in the excavation must be secured. Workers must maintain safe distance from others while digging. Using appropriate PPEs like hard hat, dust mask, safety shoes, hand gloves, eye goggles, etc. What are the requirements for a crane lifting? Explain hazards and precautions. Friends, before starting any lifting activity, there are some requirements like crane position on a stable and level ground with wood pads and steel plates. Outriggers are fully extended. Tires are off ground. Certified operator and riggers are available. Safe load indicator is working. The checklist is filled with the competent person. Crane has a valid inspection sticker, insurance and third-party certificates. The load weight is confirmed and it is within the safe working limit of the crane. Safety devices are not bypassed. The swing arm radius is barricaded and unauthorized people are evacuated from the work area. The lifting tools are free from defects. Pads are used to protect the slings from load and vice versa. Wind speed is less than 32 km per hour. Approved lifting plan is available for critical lift at workplace. Permit for the activity is obtained. Crane operators and riggers' vision is not obstructed. The load is well balanced and taglines are used to control the weight. Lifting hazards. Accident hit or crushed by hanging load, falling objects, collapse of lifting equipments due to overload, overturning of the crane, failure of lifting gears such as wire ropes, hooks, shackle, eye bolts, chain. Crane lifting precautions. The load is clear of any obstruction. The load is securely slung. The security of the load is to be reconfirmed once the load is raised a few inches. The crane is not used to drag the load or pull the sling beneath a few inches. No movement is allowed under the suspended load. Barricade the swing radius of the crane. Never sling different sides of the tubular together. The crane hook is in central position over the load. All equipment must be inspected by a third party and validity of inspection must be checked. Daily inspection sheets of the crane must be always available with crane operator. Safe working load of the crane and hook shall be marked and highlighted. Fire extinguisher of approved type and capacity. Crane hook must be secured and prevent swinging action in transit. All calibrated safe working load indicators and crane capacity chart permanently displayed in the crane cabin. Sling is protected from sharp edges by using suitable packing. Hooks used on lifting equipment should be fitted with a safety device to prevent the load or sling displacement for hook. Do not use wire rope slings if it is crinked, crushed, frayed, or corroded. Slings must never shorten by tying knots in them or by wrapping around the crane hook. My dear friends, I hope this video is very helpful to you for your HSC interview, and these all questions, important questions and collected from different sources. Thank you.